Future State Dark Detective issue 3, Mariko Tamaki on the main story with Dan Mora, and then Matthew Rosenberg on the backup with Carmine Di Domenico. That is the Grifter story. And this is one that we've generally been quite positive on. It's maybe not hitting quite the amazing highs that Next Batman has in places, or one or two other ones have, but Dan Mora's art, I mean, every shot, every panel of him with the neon city behind him is still pleasing my my eye holes. So
just laughing at eye holes.
Oh, I bet you are. I mean, look at that. It's like the second or third page. It's a silhouette of. I mean, I don't know if it's hinting that that's Catwoman because there's a cat behind her, but the woman standing on her balcony with just all the electric billboards and shit.
It is gorgeous. I don't think it's supposed to be Catwoman. I think it's just textural. But again, Jodie Belair doing a great job here. You know, doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So. Bruce is still working with the old man who's paranoid, and his daughter's mad at Bruce for kind of enabling him a little bit, which kind of leads to where she works, and she's been followed by the magistrate. But it starts with a bit of a murder mystery. There's a wealthy dude who's been murdered, and he's like fancy penthouse, and basically it's the magistrate murdering the competition. Anyone who has like tech and stuff that or weapons tech that could be used by anyone but them. They want to have this monopoly and all the fancy tech in the city. But Bruce tries to catch some of these nanobots with a net from a rooftop. He literally just has a net that he throws out.
Also, I thought fly fishing was something else. So it was like a weird mixed metaphor.
Don't look at me, I have no idea what fly fishing is.
Yeah, so...
Fly fishing,
I mean, this is just...
That's the one where you wade out and stand kind of deep into the river.
Yeah,
right?
And then you whip the lure and stuff like it's a fly.
Yeah.
You know, and the fish jump up and grab it. That's not what he's doing here. This is like an invisible net. So, I mean, he's just net fishing. You know, like commercial fishing.
It doesn't sound good, though.
Yeah, I know. But just, again, mixed metaphor. I'm going to chalk it up to Bruce having a ton of head injuries over the years.
I mean,
he's just, you know.
He's capturing flying fish, technically, so...
Something like that.
Fly fishing. He's fishing for flies.
Flyer fishing is what you're trying to say. Anyways.
Yeah. And it's a bit of trial and error, because he basically, the first couple of times he tries to like tamper with one, it just explodes in his face, because they're built with firewalls, literally, right. Technically. But then of course it triggers some drones and shit, so we get some cool action of him like jumping around. He actually does randomly land in an alleyway, and behind him is the next Batman. And we kind of expected this to pop up at some point in one of these books.
Still not exactly sure what the timeline is, and Connor, I don't care.
I wasn't even going to try.
With the official, because nothing is adding up.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the timeline. I'm just sort of going with the flow. So face to face, I think it's interesting that they clearly make Bruce look like he's the shorter of the two, which is cool. But it's kind of a dick measuring moment, but they just sort of back down. And Bruce
I do like the split panel of them both walking away.
Yeah, it's nice because it's both over the shoulder, so it's kind of neat. Yeah. But basically Bruce is able to hack into one of these nanobots that he's found, and essentially gets access to the infinite security footage that they've accumulated in the city.
It reminds me of the end of Dark Knight.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
With what Lucius had set up there, you know.
Yeah, do me a favor, Matt, and shut your door, will you?
Oh man.
There's some sort of... Oh, maybe it was outside. Someone was cutting their hedges.
I have no idea. Thankfully, I just listened to music and
it was a hedge trimmer. Was it, Matt? Was it a hedge trimmer?
Yeah, someone's moving into a house by us, and they're doing work outside. So
selfish.
I had to shut the window.
I knew I heard something. Oh. Yeah. So yes, all of this just feeds into the paranoia, and the daughter's really mad at him. But he decides to kind of pursue her because she's clearly been followed by these bots and drones and whatnot. And this leads to a building where he's basically ambushed by a bunch of the drones, which is kind of the sort of the ending trap, the cliffhanger that ends on. I have to say, I mean, obviously the art's done a lot of lifting here, but like I did really enjoy his pursuit at the end, like him looking up at the building, which it feels really imposing as he's looking up at it.
Yeah, honestly, I think the art is the biggest thing this has going for it, because I think I was really feeling it this issue. This is 3 of 4 in this story, and the pacing is just not there for me. I still feel like I've barely got a handle on what this story is actually doing as a story beyond just here's some of the stuff in this world.
I think I'm getting that from a lot of features, especially now this month that we're getting a lot of the back halves of the two-parters. I think a lot of them are feeling like...
Some more than others, but some still manage to feel like an actual story while setting up something, whereas this doesn't feel like there's an actual story that it's telling.
No, I feel that the story is like how the magistrate eventually did take over, because they took out the competition of all of the... So they got their tech and then took out the tech.
Well, that's not story though. That's background for this particular 4-issue arc. That's background information. That's not the story.
Well, no, I mean it kind of is a story, and Bruce is actively investigating it and discovering these things.
Because it's very much detective in the Dark Detective.
It's very it's very much kind of working as a foundation for all the other Bat stuff revolving around the magistrate. Where it's really setting the scene for everything else.
Yeah, that's where I realized that the magistrate's not a person, it's a group. Also, that really drove it home. Because when it first started, it sounded like the magistrate was one person, kind of like a dictator. But no, it seems like it's a group of people that are making, the decisions, like Peacekeeper 1, because Bruce puts together that's why they came after him. It wasn't necessarily because they knew he was Batman, but because Wayne Tech contributed so much to that tech that they took him out. So they could take over whatever.
All Lucius Fox, his tech could be a rival to them, so it was kind of a tactic. I think this book's got a lot of atmosphere. It's really sort of painting the world that Gotham is right now, and I think that's benefiting to the other Bat books as well as this one. I kind of agree that there's not really much of a full complete package, in the sense that I don't really feel like getting into this last issue that there's a story that's about to really pay off, and I'm really waiting for that final beat. But I do think it's functioning very well as what it's actually doing, though. I like it.
I think I'd be a lot more forgiving of that if this was a 2-issue story. If this was a 2-issue thing, like I say, kind of being this foundational piece for Gotham, I'd be a lot more forgiving. But it's a 4-issue story, and it's a full length, 4-issue story at that. Where I'm like, I feel like I want a bit more out of this. I'm not getting much out of it beyond just I'm seeing things for the rest of the world. But in its own right, I'm not getting much out of it, despite really enjoying the art, and that does keep me engaged enough as I'm reading it.
I think what's funny is that if this was an ongoing, I'd have zero complaints. Because
I agree with that.
Because I feel like he's done a really good job of setting up this old man and his daughter. There's a supporting cast. It feels almost like a weird, maybe not a miniseries, but like a season in the Batman world where this is what Bruce is doing now, where he's having to be really low tech. He's having to hide in some basement.
If this was the first arc of a book, I would have very little complaints on this regard specifically. I'd be like, okay, it's taking its time, it's building to stuff, but the fact that this is a 4-issue mini, the context of that, I'm judging it on that behalf, and that's where I feel the pacing is lacking. And I'm like, in my head, I'm going, well, I'm sure it's going to get a sequel story now somewhere in one of these other books.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's still kind of not good enough for me. Like that's fine. We'll get that when it gets that. But if you're selling me a 4-issue series, I still need something out of that 4-issue series without going, oh, but you've got to come back for the next story somewhere else to get anything out of this. That's kind of where I feel right now.
I don't know. I just like the ride that we're on with it, because it does feel different from the next Batman, right? Like they're telling 2 different stories in Gotham, so it doesn't seem like Bruce cares who this new Batman was, right? Like he was just kind of like, you're in my way.
No, I really like that moment Whereas, like, well, yeah, the Batman can't die. Of course, there's a new one. The Batman is dead. Long live the Batman.
Right.
Yeah, it's more than just a man. It's just the legend. It's the myth. It's all that.
The symbol
Right.
I think he uses as well.
Yeah.
It's that classic Batman stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
so I like that aspect of it.
yeah, to sort of expand this, I think not just even just for the state of Gotham. I think the future state in general. It feels like they clearly do have plans that where future state, like whatever future state is overall, isn't just this 2-month thing. There's clearly some kind of plan to come back to this, and I don't necessarily know if it'll be like a future state era where we'll have another month, and maybe this time next year they'll do another month or two where everything stops and we get like almost like a concluding chapter that'll end the ongoing anthology book, and we'll get like the ending of whatever the future state status quo is, and because whatever. But
I have to say, I hope it's not another month of interrupting books. Like, I'm fine with having regular ongoing books or minis alongside everything else. If they just want that to be its own, little pocket ongoing, that's cool.
I don't disagree with that. I don't want to stop all the books again either. I would rather they didn't do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's very cool. The art is beautiful. And I do think the overall feeling of the book. So it's neat. And I actually kind of like the daughter chewing him out for enabling the old man.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Well, because it's very much Bruce taking advantage of a situation like he always does, right? Like something that Alfred would have chewed him out for too. You would think. It's like, no, this man has issues, and you're just feeding into them to get what you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, and he makes like goggles that can see the nanobots, which is
yeah. And the old guy can somehow hear them.
Yeah,
he's not just paranoid.
No.
Yeah.
The alien sounds are the drones that are pervasive in the city.
He's not completely sane because he thinks they're aliens. But,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's making a leap as to what they are, but there is actually something there that he is hearing. It's not like he's just inventing everything.
It's not complete nonsense. So that was the main story in Dark Detective issue 3. So, Matt, what are you rating that story?
I'm gonna give this one a 7.5.
Connor?
I'll give it a 6.
Art's enough. I think I'm going to give it the 8. I think the art's enough for me to just give it that extra little bump. So there you go. The other story, of course, is the Matthew Rosenberg story. This is the Grifter, where he just ran into Huntress, who's got a bit of a rep. The magistrate really want her, which is where this issue kind of goes, because she does have a way out of the city. Luke Fox pays to get his way out, and she ultimately takes them to this ultra fancy, like undetectable, like submarine or whatever it is that's going to take him out of the city. But there's a bit of a twist where Luke turns out that he is working for the magistrate, and this was all just a big plot to get to Huntress because they really want her. So ultimately, Grifter, who does get a chance to leave, but it's basically leaving Huntress for dead. He makes his heroic sort of sacrificial choice moment where he decides to go and help her instead and get her out of the city, and he'll take the beating, he'll stay and fight, and give her a chance to still sort of like, do a resistance but from a distance, or regroup and come back, or whatever it may be.
Resistance from a distance.
Resistance from a distance.
Yeah. The story had me until the Luke Fox thing, just because, again, with the timeline, and this does not feel like the same Luke. Like, I know it felt like he was under duress, like he was doing it for whatever reason, but just, I don't know. It came like a twist for the sake of having a twist.
No, I agree, because it feels like the Luke that we know is a stronger moral character than that. And
and
kind
just
of bend and make this choice.
I think I kind of agree. It came suddenly for me as well. What I will defend a little bit is that I do think him trying to actually let Grifter go, that no, I imagine don't care much about you. He does kind of go out of his way to try and give him an option to leave. So there is some sort of moral compass still there, even if he is kind of being a dick elsewhere.
Right, but it felt like when we were trying to get Huntress, you're collateral, and because you helped out my dad way back in the day, I'm going to let you go. And versus hey, they have my family, I tried to trip them up. You know what I mean? Like, there's a different way to do it, for it to be Luke Fox. It was weird.
it never felt like it was under duress at all. Like, Luke's saying, it's a job. It's nothing personal. And he goes, we got the Queen of Clubs. That's all anyone cares about. It feels like he's in on this. Like
which
he's not
seems
just
different than the Luke that we've been dealing with in the next Batman, where it seems like there's still that Luke that we know of, but he's just keeping his head down. Here it feels like he's completely sold out.
Right, and it's just bizarre because obviously, having Jason Todd working for Magistrate, I buy that 100%.
Right.
But this Luke who spent time as Batwing and such, doesn't feel like the same character anymore. It feels like it's out of nowhere.
Or tie whatever happened to his sister to Huntress and be like, I want to get her, and that would seed that a little bit. Something, there's just.
I think that's kind of the point. Is this is supposed to tell us how far gone he is, and this is obviously further on the timeline than what we've seen of the next Batman.
Maybe it felt hollow. That's all.
I don't disagree with that, but I think that's the logic behind it, and I think this is supposed to tell us how far gone he is, and that maybe they should have done a better job of actually kind of at least giving us a hint to why he is this far gone now.
I have a question, Pete. If you were only reading Dark Detective and you weren't reading the next Batman, and so you don't have context for Luke anywhere else in Future State, would you be defending this at all? Like, would you be going, oh, there's reasons? It just in this book.
I don't know, because I don't think you think I'm defending it for the reasons you think I'm defending, and I'm not even defending it that much because I actually agree that it comes out of nowhere.
Okay, defending that logic of there's the stuff that that we've seen elsewhere, and this is shown where he's gotten to. I think if you haven't read those other things, this is even worse out of nowhere.
I mean, I guess that's somewhat true, but I don't think that's any more or less true in the context of Future State than it is to any other time there's a ongoing crossover style thing happening where if you're not reading the two separate books that happen to relate to a character, you'll be equally lost.
But usually if a book is following a character, in this case, Luke, usually if there are big character twists and turns, you've got at least some context for that within that book's story. Otherwise I'd say it is just bad writing.
Very possibly. I mean, if they're treating him like a character who's like darting around different books and you get kind of a full picture. Not that I necessarily expect them to have another Luke Fox pop up somewhere else by the end of the month that kind of adds more to why he is this way. At least if they do, I'd at least understand the sort of the logic of, okay, we see part of the journey in one book, the end of the journey in this book, and then kind of the middle of the journey elsewhere. And it's kind of a through line. If you've been paying attention to a lot of Future State, you're rewarded for seeing all the different corners, and it kind of builds something out of that. Like, I could see the appeal of that and why they do that.
And I don't even want to just put it strictly on Rosenberg. I feel like this is one where editing would have helped a little bit. Sometimes they talk about editing having their hands a little bit too much and stuff, but I just feel like a little bit of oversight here would clear up a lot.
It's possible that the editors are a little bit too in the weeds themselves, where they know all the beats from the other books, and they're not seeing the problem from a detached point of view because the information is just there in their head.
It didn't. I guess I'm just impressed enough that I like the voice of the character, and I was the same was the first half, and I like the choice he makes at the end to go back and help Huntress. That it kind of was successful because it actually made me give at least a bit of a shit about Grifter. Because I don't disagree. The Luke Fox twist does feel a bit out of nowhere. It feels a bit, I don't know if I say shock value per se, but because it's also not that shocking necessarily either.
No.
I'm kind of indifferent.
No, it's like a twist for the sake of having a twist.
It's a bit easy, isn't it? It's a bit cheap.
Yeah.
But he's not the main character. Grifter is, and I actually think it did a decent enough job of making me like Grifter a little bit. Where I'm not saying that I care about Grifter enough that I would pick up any Grifter story now, but Rosenberg's doing more with Grifter. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's the continuation. I see what he's going to do with him, because I actually kind of like the Star-Lord-y kind of feel that he has for him. To describe him.
I will say it's the most I've liked Grifter just based off of, because I always felt like they've been trying to wedge him in ever since New 52 because of Wildstorm.
Yeah.
And he's never had a reason to stand out. So here, like Pete said, there's a little Star-Lord-y anti-hero like put upon. Like, I don't want to be the
Star-Lord
hero.
meets Hawkeye.
Yeah, like I don't want to be the hero, but y'all are making me do it. So, and then when he got those like plasma guns, it definitely felt like, Wildcats era. I remember seeing in comic shops in the 90s, like,
Yeah.
all right, this is the familiar character now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any debate that the Luke Fox element of this is the weakest part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any debate in that, but I think everything else is actually surprisingly fun. And I'm like, hey, when I went to this book, I actually thought, oh, I'm actually kind of looking forward to the second half of that Grifter story, which I don't think I was expecting to ever think. So
Strange sentence to hear you say.
yeah. So again, I don't think I care about Grifter in general now, but I'm definitely down to try more of Williams or Rosenberg's Grifter.
You're more open to Grifter than you were before.
Well, it clearly depends on the voice. It depends on these things, but I think I like the Huntress inclusion as well. I like that she got a little bit of time here to shine and feel a little bit important. So that's nice. And obviously, Gia Domenico's art's very good, especially in the action, all the car chasing stuff that goes on.
The action's all spectacular throughout.
Yeah, middle issue looks good.
It's Gia Domenico. Like, that's what we expect, right? Is the movement of action and stuff.
Yeah.
And delivers here.
Real sense of momentum in the chase when they're on the bike. Yeah,
because his general extended around faces are okay, but it's the momentum and the action where he really shines. No question about that. What are you giving this story, Matt?
I'm gonna give this one we'll go a 7.
Connor?
It's another 6 from me, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with Matt. I think 7 is quite fair for this. It has problems, obviously, but I liked it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed the two-part. The book as a whole, Matt, what are you going with?
I'll just give it a 7. Straight 7 across.
Connor?
Very easy for me. I gave both stories the same score, so it's a 6.
Well, I had a 7 and 8, so I'll split the difference and call it a 7.5. But there you go. It's
math.
Dark Detective, issue 3.